when, you know, your body is somewhat riddled with pain and is holding on to the old manifestation. So we need to kind of clear all of that. And people say, well, how do you get rid of pain? Well, just really partly by addressing it, looking at it, seeing what the original cause of it is. And, you know, there's a book, it's by Bessel van der Kolk, who's a Harvard-trained psychiatrist. And he wrote, The Body Keeps the Score. And the idea really is that our body holds all this information. And, you know, our cells kind of accommodate what the information is. And we know when we look at neurologically, like pain patterns, you can actually think that you have pain. You imagine you have pain, but you live in that pain and you start to set up the neurological pathways to that pain. I mean, when I was studying, you know, doing my pre-med, my neurology teacher was talking about that. And it was, you know, like, what does that mean? That we can actually create our own pain. In our mind's eye, we can think about it. Now, it may not be that it's just an imagination. It may be that you might be triggered. So you might have a muscle spasm, or you might have had a headache, but then you keep reliving that pain pattern. And then neurologically, that line is set. So it's about breaking that pattern. You know, I went to school with someone who every topic that we studied, he actually started developing that issue. So if we studied about brain tumors, he was getting headaches and he thought he had a brain tumor. If we studied about, you know, gut health, he was getting gastrointestinal distress and he was getting diarrhea, constipation. So he took on, because he had no boundary line, but in his mind, when he studied it, he was so empathic that he became that pain. And so there are some of us that are empaths, and we have to be careful about that. But that's really at the level of energy and energy medicine and the whole energetic field. So that's another area that we need to look at in terms of how we can absorb ideas, we can absorb pain. And that's not just say that every disease is an imagined disease. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But we have to address that with some people where something may have happened. But, you know, you've heard of people that have had car accidents in August, and then the following August, they have another car accident. And then the following August, they have another car accident. Like, what is that about? There's some repeat of that pattern. And we can't say it's the same for everybody, but we know in our own lives, we have established certain patterns. We have patterns of behavior, and some of those behaviors really become toxic to our physical being, become toxic to our emotional being, become toxic in our mind, you know, toxic thoughts, toxic feelings, toxic words. And so part of that is looking at what is. You know, I'll be talking later about telling the truth. I mean, you have to actually sit down and start telling the truth about what's going on with you. If there is illness, if there is a chronic condition, even if there is a family history of it, where can you now break the pattern? So I'll be talking later about, you know, the genetics and genetic coding and epigenetics. You know, I'll touch on all of that a bit. But the idea is that we may have the genetic code and the DNA structure from our families, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that gene has to be expressed or turned on. And that's the fascinating research that's actually been being done in the last 20 years. And now with the advent of AI and all the research that's about to take place and taking place currently, we're realizing, interesting, everything we thought is different than what we studied. And I remember one of my mentors, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, who's a, you know, famous biochemist, and he's the what we call the father of functional medicine. So he said about 15 years ago, everything that I've taught you about biochemistry, the paradigm is changing. Throw it out. We have to throw it out. And everyone, I mean, people love him, and he's so smart. He's so brilliant of a mind and studying biochemistry. So it's not that the biochemistry has necessarily changed, because that is, I mean, how the body functions is, but we've had such a limited view of what the body can accomplish. You know, we used to think that the body cells did not regenerate, only maybe liver cells or red blood cells regenerated. Now we understand that there's a neurological function that regenerates, because there's something called neuroplasticity. And with neuroplasticity, what does that mean? It means that our brain cells, our nerve cells actually can have adaptability. So plasticity means it can be molded, and it can be molded in different ways. And part of that molding occurs from the way we think. So as we think, as we speak, as we are, as we live, that all really impacts. I like to say that treat your body and your brain as if it's a computer, but you're in charge of that computer. Now, so many things we're not in charge of, right? We're not in charge of how we digest food. We're not in charge. I mean, we eat food and the body produces enzymes and we have digestion, but we can affect that in terms of what we eat, how we eat, when we eat, right? What we drink, what we don't drink. If we eat and drink together, we affect, and we know that enzymes are produced just by us looking at food, right? It starts to turn on the signals, the brain signals. When we smell food, our smell and taste buds actually turn on the enzymes. As we chew the food, we turn on the enzymes. So it's not just the act of food coming into the stomach and the small intestine that turns on the enzymes. It's actually our senses that start to turn on the enzymes. So when we think of it and we go deeper levels, we understand that there's so much more that we don't understand, or that we do understand, but it's not really out in the general public. Is to keep your minds open, to be willing to dive deeper, to be willing to let go, to be willing to release, to be willing to shift your paradigm of what health is and what healing is, because we could see miracles happen. And we can call it what we want. I mean, you may not believe in miracles, but there are miraculous things that happen all the time. And, the idea is that if you participate, if you're willing to sit with yourself and go deeper into your deepest levels, then you could start to uncover some of your own secrets. So I digressed. I was going on to kick-ass. So kick-ass, literally like create your new story, the kaleidoscope of new adventures, actualize and activate the new you, right? Because you can see it, but you have to activate it so that you actually put it into motion. Because only by taking massive action with your own health and your own healing process can you start to see results. You could think about it, but if you don't do something, you're never going to see results, right? I have a new far infrared sauna that I love. And, people say, oh, you don't need to exercise anymore. Well, maybe, but probably that's not true. It makes it easier to want to exercise because you're kind of removing all the toxins from your body and your bloodstream. But the studies on that have actually been that you can lower your blood pressure without taking drugs by doing the far infrared sauna every day. The other thing, so it's activate, it's also so savvy, to have an exceptional mind, right? To be smart and use your exceptional mind, because we have all of these God-given talents. We have all the tools, and everything we need is really within us. We just need to activate it. We need to see it, activate it, and then manifest. And sexiness is important, right? Because sexiness is not about external sexiness. It's about turning yourself on. It's about turning on your own inner light, your own inner passion, because we want a life with passion. We want a life with activation. We want a life that's vital. We don't want to be healthy just for the sake of being healthy. Like, that's important, but ultimately we all want to have fun. I say girls want to have fun. I think boys want to have fun too, gals and guys. And then having your own style. So it's savvy, sexy style to express you, to express your own unique brand, not following anybody else, not looking at what other people have. Of course, we all do that because there's like an explosion of media and social media, and we're all in contact with that. But I think what we're missing, and especially young people are missing, is having to look inside and go deeper to like, who are you? And what do you need to express? And what is your purpose in being here?